You ready?
Yeah.
All right, so now we're over in Ohio City on Clinton Street, and it's one of my favorite areas of Ohio City. Tony's been doing several builds over here under CLE Custom Builders, and wanted to just kind of talk about some of the situations that we have working on Clinton itself.
Sure. So right now we're in a new construction home. There'll be, we purchased, or the client purchased a home that was, we'll talk about here and maybe get some video here in a second, of an older home on the lot, and the lot's basically two lots that were consolidated. So we split the lot in half. We're standing in the new home that's being built on Clinton Street. And then, like most of the city, in the back, you do your detached garage, which will then have an ensuite or a rental unit above. And then you enter your garage, off of the alley and pull in. So in this case, it's Vine Court that is south of Clinton Street. So then next door, now that we split the lot, we're going to, through working with and our review with the city of Cleveland, you got to think of, many of you probably live in subdivisions, and many of your subdivisions probably have homeowners associations. So in the city, what they have are called block clubs. And so your block club is in charge of, say, a 5-street area by a 2 main artery area. So maybe it consists of, potentially the same amount of homes that you have in your subdivision. And there's a board and there's a president, and people sit on there and they talk about the architectural review of your different products. Sorry for the noise. We got
In
guys.
a construction zone.
Yeah, we got guys working. So ultimately, the parallel is the block club is the eyes and ears, just like the homeowners association is.
So I want to point something out real quick on that. The big thing to keep in mind too, though, with an HOA, you're paying HOA fees mainly yearly, and with a block club, you're not paying HOA fees, but you're still governed by the decisions that they make. So
yeah, specifically in the design phase. So being in the city, being an older community, you have historic requirements. So there's certain parts of the city and within certain neighborhoods that are the historic districts. We're in a historic district. So how do you take something new and make it look historic? Well, that's where the block club sets in. They step in and say, hey, let's do certain things to make it look like it was always here. Let it fit in. We know it's going to have a little more modern look. Everyone's into the modern farmhouse look, either modern or modern farmhouse or craftsman modern, mid-century modern, call it the Frank Lloyd Wright design. So that's what's happening everywhere across the country. So we're fitting and gelling and working amicably in concert with each other to make things work. So I will tell you, there's big involvement in it, and rightfully so, because people want to protect the historic integrity of the community and the properties. I've worked on a project right around the corner from here, the Franklin Castle. I built a new home right down the street. I rehabbed another home that was built in 1905. So I've done anything from 1860, early 1900s, what was a big boom in Cleveland, from 1880 to 1920s, and then of course post-war, in the inner ring suburbs. So working on several of those homes and now building new construction, I have a respect and understanding and the wherewithal to help make those things happen. So ultimately, I could talk about right next door. We were digging and we found a
I'll see if I can switch it. Go ahead.
a water line that wasn't buried too low, and we couldn't get the water off because the water's been running for 3.5 weeks, and everyone's on the Facebook page wondering what's going to happen, and people don't pick up the phone anymore. I get it. So I'm finding out information through Facebook page and wondering what's happening, and Cleveland Water's slammed. They're waiting, and they can come when they come, and they tried to help me out. They tried to get on it. We found it's an old lead box. We couldn't get in the box, so now they're replacing the box for me right now to make it right and ultimately stop the water. So these are things that we encounter building in the city that you wouldn't have in suburbia. Oh, by the way, my workspace is 30 feet total for each home. So
instead of a 100-foot wide lot or a 70-foot.
Right. So you got to pay attention. Logistics that play a huge role. You can only drop off so much lumber at a time. You got to watch your parking. You got to watch your dumpsters because you still got to keep things clean. So So we try to consolidate, hide lumber behind, scrap lumber behind shields until we're ready to pick it up, or I'll use your home as quote unquote the dumpster for a period of time in a certain area, and then I'll have guys come in on a Saturday, drop a dumpster off, load it up, and get rid of it, and we're clean again. So try to stage things, keep things clean, keep things safe, and of course, keep things secure.
So time frame wise, when building in the city, it does take a little longer.
That's correct. That's a very good point.
So that's one thing to point out.
And so in this case, this client signed a contract with me last September. Okay?
And
you can see we're
got into
framing.
September.
And so where a year ago they signed the agreement. What happened in that time frame? Well, we went through Block Club. We're going through COVID. We were COVID Block Club waiting. We're waiting, right. We finally got our permits sometime in, I want to say we got permits in June, so let's rewind. Foundation went in the month of July. Well, we're framing now, so I then had to put, because it's a slab, I had to put mechanicals under the slab and pour the slab. So that took about 3 weeks. We put the foundation in July. That took a period of time because, of course, we're digging. We find surprises, which you find in Cleveland. But we know we're going to find stuff, so you got to plan for it. How much stuff is always the question, or what stuff, but you know you're going to find stuff. So we handled that, so we got our permits in June. So once we get going, we go. Ultimately, to get there took a period of time. So what happened from last September to June? Well, we went through our Block Club process. We went through revision of the Block Club process. We're dealing with COVID when we're meeting once a month, and some meetings weren't happening because people had COVID, and you had to have so many people there to vote on things, you had to wait. So clients suggested. I could tell you this, that being said, lumber numbers were going up until June. Well, now my client, which we're going to do some alternative changes on the lumber has come back down. It's still up over where they were last September, but not like it would have been had we started right away. Like Suburbia, you could start right away and go. Client actually saved some money by waiting. Right. So, and we're paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to it. I'm not going to hoard the money. It's not fair. So that's why we have escalation clauses in my agreement, knowing that the escalation clause protects you and protects me, and ultimately protects the supplier too, because right now I know they're losing because to give back a certain portion. So ultimately, I know we talked a little earlier in the other video about how pricing and timing is affecting everything. Ultimately, it could work out to your benefit as well.
Yeah. And keep in mind, if you guys are looking to either do a rehab or a new build in Cleveland, Tony can do both of those. The one thing is we're in a house right now that has a slab foundation, but he also does foundations that have 8 or 9 foot basements or crawl spaces.
Next door is going to have a 10-foot basement. The client's pretty tall, and he golfs a lot, so the golf simulation requires they need to be 10 foot. So we're going to do 10 foot. Yes, in the city of Cleveland, doing 10-foot basements. So anyhow, so we're working through it. A lot of opportunities. I mean, if you want to flip the screen, we can show.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can flip the screen. I don't know if it's going to. Here, we'll turn around.
Okay. Yeah.
So
it's a good idea.
As you can see here, and Tony, hop in that picture.
Sure. So this house is the home I was referring to. We're rehabbing this, so we got it all gutted. We're going through the ARB approval process right now, and it's just going to take some time, but we're working on it. That's the water department working on the water box up front.
So one thing to point out with this house behind us, and this is where a lot of people get confused, is we thought we would be able to tear this house down when we were originally looking at this parcel. And the Block Club, to maintain the integrity of the street and the historic side of homes, decided not to allow us to tear it down, so we had to come up with a new game plan to save this house. This house actually had water lines break and burst during the winter. So
actually, we found some other rodents and things like that as well. So we were able to get it cleaned up pretty good, and now we're in a design phase. But like Damien said, working in concert and the collaboration with Ohio City and a couple members on the board who actually I've worked with and worked for gave me a couple good ideas. We're going to take down part of the back of the home and put a garage in. And actually, you were talking about that too as an idea. So
it was my idea first.
Yeah. And so we put the garage in and fill part of the basement. So it's going to work out pretty good.
And the cool thing about a garage like this, or even the carriage homes that we put on these lots, because you can actually have 2 families on most Cleveland lots, it gives you the opportunity to either make a second family room, or it gives you the opportunity to have an apartment with tax abatement for 15 years. So it's a huge savings and can really reduce the cost of your home, because for 15 years, I mean, that might add up to be about $80,000 to $100,000 in savings that you can experience and put that equity right into your house.
Yeah, very good point. And I tell you, it's things are booming down here, and the regentrification that's happening, and people, the liveliness, people walking the streets, and the energy you see everywhere. Like Damien said, you know, and the bars are pretty good too. We go and have a drink every now and then, right? So it's a very relaxed area, and again, it's a different building environment. But ultimately, we're still seeing the same cycles here. A few other curveballs that we got to work through, but ultimately working in collaboration with the block club, the city, and clients alike know how to. We're through it with the, you know, end in mind of again building your home with quality and getting there through the different time constraints and scheduling that's required. We do make it happen.
So one thing to keep in mind too, if you are interested in seeing some of the other homes built by Tony in Cleveland Custom Builders, we can definitely get that in front of you. There will be contact information below this video, so feel free to reach out to us and we can share a lot of ideas and give you some opportunity to see if this would work for you as well.
Great. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
See ya.